Good morning. It's good to see a caffeinated crew. Good job. Man, I really hope you are part of all that God's doing. Baptisms, lives being changed, that you get to be a part of investing your life in seeing lives change, because there's nothing like it. And so don't miss all that God is doing, because it isn't just on a Sunday. It is throughout the week. It is in homes. It is downtown Bastrop. It is around this state and this country. God be praised. I want to share with you a couple things. First, this Saturday, women, what's happening? Women's conference. You can be a little excited. Come on. This is awesome. A time to gather around, be together, pray together, worship. It'll be an awesome time. Sign up today. We'll have somebody after service for you to be able to sign up with. And then also, as we announced last week, this is Pastor Aaron's last Sunday with us. And so right after service in this foyer, we'll have a few things. And then right after second service, we're going to have a big reception in the fellowship hall, the other building. So just take a moment to hug on him, love him, say thanks, pray with him, get an update. And so, again, we shared this in staff. We've shared this a few times. Gospel goodbyes are a reality. We have a time and a season with each person, and then they go and continue to make the impact for God's kingdom. And so we're sad because we're going to miss people, but we're glad because the impact continues beyond ourselves. And so make some time to love on Pastor Aaron and Robin and say goodbye and say thank you to them. And then last but not least, I want you to mark your calendars. Two things are going to be happening right away in October 26th and October 29th. October 26th is our annual family picnic. There'll be like 700-800 of us because we're joining with Smithville. We're going to have a great picnic in time. That's a Sunday evening, and so mark your calendars. And then something we haven't done for a few years, on October 29th is our fifth Sunday, and we've been mobilizing our church into the community on our fifth Sundays, and we're going to have a trunk or treat. What's a trunk or treat? A trunk or treat is an opportunity to just love on kids in our community, pass out a ton of candy. And so if you want to help donate candy, if you want to help decorate a trunk, if you're like, what is that? Love to answer those questions. But ultimately, I just want you to mark your calendars, because both opportunities to love on each other and love on our community are happening at the end of October. Sound good? Yes. All right. What happened to that caffeinated crew? Let's dive into God's Word, because I think most of us would agree that we want to follow Jesus, right? That His love has changed our life, and that's where it starts. We talked about that a few weeks ago, that God creates new birth, new life. That's where it starts, and we have this growing trust in who He is and what He can do. We want to follow Jesus. We believe in Him, and we want to see our lives changed by Him, but that doesn't mean life is always easy. Anyone been there? Right? I mean, I don't know if you ever got sold that, hey, follow Jesus and everything's sunshine, buttercup, and rainbows. It's not. It's not simple. Following Jesus isn't simple. And so that's why we've been wrestling with what's it like to follow Jesus in real life. What we're faced with, what's happening, what's it like to really follow Jesus for real life. This authentic journey where we don't have it all together. Maybe you did before I got here, but sorry, I don't, and so we don't no longer, right? But there's a whole idea of where God meets us with where we are at. And so grab your Bibles or open an app. We're going to be in John chapter 5, and I want to discover more about this idea of where God meets us in our mess and what God can do in us. The text starts with these words: inside the city, near the sheep gate, was the pool of Bethesda, or Bethsaida, depending on your translation. Crowds of sick people, blind, lame, or paralyzed, lay on the porches. As I read that verse, I was thinking, it's easy to do what those around us are doing, isn't it? It's easy to kind of just copy what's happening around us. it's harder to grow and go further with God. When we don't have examples, when we don't have a push from people who love us, it's easy to kind of just settle and do what those around us are doing. When no one calls out more from us, we can just kind of go through the motions. And then you add to that how life can just leave us exhausted. There's a sense of blah or unsatisfied because of the rat race pace, because of all the pressure in our life, where we're just not sure what to do. And so we just kind of don't do anything. And so we see this crowd and things are just kind of happening, not much going on. And the text zooms into one of the men lying there had been sick for, what's the text tell us? How long? 38 years. I mean, put yourself in his situation. What is life really like for you? Because I guarantee you, when he was a boy, he did not dream of being stuck for 38 years, right? This is not what he thought his life would be like. And it's easy to let the difficulties start to define us. It's easy to let the troubles start to trick us and anxiety consume us. We can get trapped in what I call the funk. Have you felt that before? Where life's just kind of, I don't know how to navigate. I'm not sure what to do. It doesn't feel great. Time passes, and we begin to think, this is life, the best it can get. And we start to simply exist, endure, survive, and that's the new normal. You find yourself there this morning? Maybe the pressures, the fatigue, the difficulties you're facing, and you're like, I don't know how to navigate forward. I'm just kind of stuck, and it's not really great. And so I just want to ask you, is this who you want to be? Right now, right before October 2025, is this who you want to be? Or do you believe God might be calling you to something more? What do you want to see happen with your life? And if God could speak right to that issue, whatever issue you have, I have, how could that transform your life? Because when Jesus saw him and knew he'd been ill for a long time, he asked him this crazy question. What's it say? Jesus saw him. He knew what was happening and walked up right to him to have a conversation. I think that's what he wants to do with us, to get real about real life and where we're really at, to get real about what's happening and what's hurting us. And he asked this crazy question: would you like to get well? And I mean, that's blowing my mind, because I truly wonder if we may not be aware that we're not well. Is it possible that sitting here right now with everything we're facing, the things that are going on in our head and our heart as a disciple full on for Jesus, that maybe we're not so well right now? I mean, it's not like the guy didn't know he was ill. He's been here for 38 years. He's with other people who are sick. But did he really know he wasn't well? Stuck with the suck of life. Stuck with the loss, with the failures, the uncertainty that may just be wrecking our soul. Maybe he was stuck with a performance at a pace that's killing us, with all the hurry and the pressure driving us. Like this week, there were little niggly things I shared last week that I was kind of a I was not very nice to my wife in HEB because of all the things I'd let kind of take over my head. This week was kind of the same thing, where just this little tiny niggly stuff was just kind of drilling into me. And it's like we start to react to that. We start to respond to that. The hurry, the pressure, the chaos, the things that aren't going our way. And so I just want to challenge you with a question. And I want you to be honest. I want you to work through this. I want you and God to just have a conversation about this. My world revolves around what? Just ask that this week. Let God speak into that. My world revolves around what? Could it be an image? Certain fears? The gotta-haves of stuff and money? What is the focus of your life and my life? For many of us, our world revolves around our kids. the schedules, the stuff, the crazy and the chaos. Maybe for you, it's grades or performance or popularity. Maybe for us, what our world revolves around is the next thing that has to get done or trying to get through that issue. Because in my life, even this week, I have been consumed with fear, fatigue, uncertainty. I mean, I know your senior pastor is supposed to have it all figured out, right? There's times of financial struggle where I'm like, God, where are you? What am I supposed to do in this? And honestly, it is easy to get stuck in the rut of how life isn't working out. And I think that's one of the enemy's greatest weapons, is to whisper, this is it. Good luck. That's all there is. But I hope you hear me. We were never designed to live for alarm clock, food, job, paycheck, clean the house, TV, kids to their activities, stream something and sleep and rinse and repeat. We can leverage those things, but we do not live for those things. And so Jesus asks him if he wants to get well. He's asking, do you believe something can happen? And do I have your attention? Because at one point, he would have leapt at the chance, right? I guarantee you that after 38 years and prior, he would have leapt at the chance to get well. He would have been like, yes, I want to get well. But right now, his answer, I can't, sir, the sick man said. For I have no one to put me in the pool when the water bubbles up. Someone else always gets there ahead of me. There was this myth that an angel would come down, stir up the pool, and whoever was the first one to get there gets healed. But you see what he's convinced himself of? You see how the slow taint of life has redefined him? What dictates reality to him? Again, we put ourselves in the text. We let God speak to us from his word. The slow taint maybe has infected you. He may wish to get well, but he's not willing to get well. There's a big difference in that. I think there's oftentimes we're like, I really don't like where I'm at. And maybe if something perfect happened, I'd come out of it. But we're not willing to do the hard work of seeking God and letting him move us from these circumstances, because fear has jacked his brain and cracked his soul, driving away all hope. He stopped dreaming. He's just settled in for the long haul of a broken existence. I mean, I found that you and I, we can be so fearful of not knowing what to do, we don't do anything at all. Have you ever been there? I don't have all the answers. It isn't all figured out. I don't know if I take a step, is it going to all turn into disaster? And so we end up settling for the that we know of, and the potential of taking a step to where Jesus is leading us. We live with the pain, the distractions. We just try and numb the hurt and quiet the chaos. And so I think Jesus is asking, do you want to get well? Because this isn't simply a physical issue, it's a spiritual one. That we know Jesus in such a way that our faith grows to be the default reaction instead of fear. And again, I'm just preaching to myself this week. You just get to go along on the journey with me, sorry. But there's just times where something's munching on you. It becomes your focus. It starts to drive you. And it's really not that healthy. So even if I can't, he can. And I will move towards him. Jesus told him, stand up, pick up your mat, and walk. The reality is Jesus calls him to a choice. Belief or broken. Settle or surrender. Fear or faith. And again, I want you to put yourself in his situation. I get it. We know the story. It's kind of like, yay, okay, woohoo. But years have gone by for him. Habits have been formed, excuses ingrained. This is just how life is. And I think sometimes that's exactly where we are stuck. It's too hard. I don't know what to do. I might fail. It might turn out worse. And they didn't do that for me. And we're just weary, riddled with anxiety, wondering, why am I still carrying this load? And again, I get it. I've totally been there. Or I'm like at the end of my rope, I'm like, why bother? I don't even know what to do next. Maybe it's only going to get worse. But my friends, I don't want you to miss what happens. There's a moment in each of our lives that we have an invitation to trust Jesus in a transforming way. We have an invitation from Jesus to trust him in a transforming way. Again, I'm not saying it's easy, but it is life-changing. Instantly, the man was healed. He rolled up his mat and began walking. He stood up, guys. After 38 years of it ain't happening, he stood up because the incredible healing of Jesus met the choice he made to move. This was a decision needing faith, a movement that needs trust. And he walked one step. And then he made the choice to take the next step. And he found new life in that, a better life because of that. He left the crowd of his lifetime to embrace Jesus in new life. And I really want you to see what's happening here. Jesus, creator, miracle maker, in his authority, didn't simply say, stand, get up. Rather, this was a call to change the direction of his life. This wasn't just simply a miracle of stand. There was so much more that's happening behind the scenes. This is stand, pick up your mat, and start walking. Because walking with God is a first step, right? There's always that initial, I'm not sure, I'm kind of scared. It's kind of far. What if I fall? What if it doesn't work out? There's always a first step with God, but there's always a next step too, right? Matter of fact, there's many steps to this walk with Jesus because it's about faith, the first step, obedience, the next step, and faithfulness, those many steps. And so here's the deal. Are you willing to let God lead you? Even in that. Are you willing to let God love you and help you with that? To leave behind what is not healthy. See, he rolled up his mat. He didn't simply get up and take a tentative step. That's not how the story tells us. He got up, he rolled up his mat, and then he walked. He walked away from, and he walked towards Jesus. He wasn't going back because there is a time, every time there is a disappointment and a hurt in our life, we're tempted to go right back to that, unroll our mat, and sit down. Have you been there? Why am I facing this again? I thought we were over it. How am I supposed to navigate? You understand what I'm saying? It's so easy, even if we take that first step, sometimes to go, it didn't go the way I wanted. Why do I have to face this again? And we sit right back down, we unroll our mat, and we get stuck. And if we're not careful, we'll blame God instead of the fact that we didn't get up, roll up our mat, and walk towards where he was leading. And that leads us to our second question today. First, was my world revolves around what? And second, this is so key to our story today, key to your future. Are you ready? God, what are you inviting me into? God, what are you inviting me into? Personally, what do you have for me? Would you make that your prayer this week? Write that down. Wrestle with God about it all week, developing this hunger to embrace all God has invited you to be, because God is inviting. Are we going to get up and follow? To take a risk, to watch God work and move towards what he has next? I mean, maybe it's a revealing where I'm not so well, where I've gotten stuck. Maybe for you, it's to dream again in your marriage, with your kids, at your job, with a church family. God, what are you inviting me into? And here's the deal. I guarantee you it's going to take courage. You hear me? It's going to take courage. It'll take you letting go and holding on. Because, and this may seem like a duh, but you can't do this without God. When did we ever convince ourselves that the discipleship journey was something we were doing? That we were capable of? That if we just learned enough and behaved enough, we did it. We figured it out. Disciple life can't be done without God, my friends. Don't get stuck. And so wrapping up, I want to give you 2 ways to turn this into a dialogue with the Father, to go further. The first is this. The I can't doesn't feel great. Have you been there? The I can't doesn't feel great. Verse 7, I can't, sir, the sick man said. I mean, one of the hardest things about life is when we face an I can't. Maybe at one time we could. Or we find ourselves in a situation that's so hard we don't see how. I can't keep up. I don't know what to do. I can't please everyone. I can't get over this hurt. For many in this room, the I can't is our body stops being able to do what we want it to. Physically and mentally as age starts to catch up with us. The I can't do what I used to be able to do, what I was known for and good at. It's these incredible, difficult moments in our life as we face loss of health, loss of relationship, loss of vitality. It is so hard. And it's okay that it's hard. It's okay to recognize that. We're going to have a whole message on this series sometime, but you and I, we must get good at mourning the loss and limitations in life. Because we're not. And it makes us unwell. We've got to get good at mourning the loss and limitations in life. And that's so hard in our culture because it feels like a loss of who we are, our value, and our identity. Now notice, I didn't say get over it. That's what our culture says. Get over it, replace the loss, move on quickly, don't mourn it. You must go through it. You must mourn, you must grieve, face the loss that you're going through. Inviting God to come alongside and speak into that, to bring life into that loss, to weep, to hurt, and to let God help you in the midst of what feels like I can't. And second, you cannot replace what's to be done in grace. Because my friends, real life needs a whole lot of grace. Do you know that God loves to show up in weakness? I mean, we don't really like to even acknowledge weakness, but God loves to show up in our weakness. But honestly, there's a whole new depth to our relationship with God when you can let God be your strength in your weakness. Hebrews says it this way: Jesus, the Son of God, the high priest of ours, understands our what? For he faced all of the same difficulties we do, yet he did not sin. So let us what? Well, good. I'm glad a few of you got this. Can we just read that together? Let us to the throne of our gracious God, where we will receive his mercy and we will find grace to help us when we need it most. See, notice that Jesus invites us to come boldly, even with all our baggage. Even with that baggage, even with that stuck, even with that hurt, because God's love allows for an imperfect pursuit. He meets you in the mess, uncertainty, and weakness, but we have to be willing to admit that to find out how God works through that. See, often the miracle starts with admitting our need. It's one of those great ways we get to see God work. A view of life that constantly says, I want and I need God to show up, and that he will. And so, my friends, I need grace to parent. You do too. I need grace to pastor. I need grace to love my neighbor and my church. I need grace to draw me closer to God. I need grace to move me away from sin. And so would you let God speak to you today, an invitation to take your next step, to invite you into his presence and what's next? Because it may just start where you're stuck, settling, or just trying to get by, to believe God can, even in those I can'ts. So maybe today the challenge is simply to get out of our head, get off our mat, and get into amazing grace. It's time to get up.